are going to be asked to find some problem that you're having in your classes or your tutorials or wherever you're teaching, whether you're giving workshops or something else. There's always a problem, something that we want to improve upon in our profession. And a good way to do this is to go through the research process and discover what works and what doesn't work. Not using our intuition all the time, but actually using some real data and some real background. Sometimes when we're just doing our research to find out a method or something that's been used by another person, we can find a creative solution to these problems and then test them to see if they're actually working for us. I've always believed that education is not just a science, but it is also an art. And what works for one teacher may not work for another. And there's many elements that come into play as to why. And that's where we got to talk about some assumptions and limitations in our research. So we're going to talk a lot more about all these specific things. Don't get overwhelmed, but it is a problem-based course, and I do want you to figure out something that is in your career, in your profession, that you can actually use in the process that we're going to be using in this course. So start thinking about what you can improve upon as a professional teacher, instructor, or professor, so that you can be better at your job, be the professional that you're going to be. If you want to, you can turn to page 3, and we're going to look at some of the objectives of this course and what we're going to be talking about over the next few lessons. If you look on page 3, you'll see that number 1 and number 2 is about applying qualitative and quantitative research principles to your own situation and their underpinnings. Qualitative and quantitative research has certain characteristics about them. Things that you're instantly going to see by the end of this course, that this problem is going to require something that's more qualitative, and you're going to see something that's going to be more quantitative. Qualitative is more about telling stories, quantitative is more about numbers and math and those kinds of things. And we have our prejudice about one or the other, but hopefully in this course, as we go through, you're going to be doing both of them. Then you will start to see that there are advantages to one side of this type of research, and there are disadvantages to all kinds of researches. So it's important to start really understanding the underpinnings, the underlying beliefs that are behind these different kinds of research methods and types of processes that we do. If you look at 3 and 4 on the objectives, you'll see that we'll be learning how to distinguish between qualitative and quantitative designs and their appropriateness to different research problems. Some research just basically says this is qualitative. We're going to be telling a story about what is going on in our classroom or what is going on with a student. There's going to be other situations where we need to know time, how much time we spend doing certain tasks that are wasting our time, and how we can be more time management conscious. If we're talking about maybe something that is more like how many numbers or how many students are doing this compared to the students who are not doing this, we might need more of a numbers statistic in order to figure out what is going on and to really understand the situation. But we're going to start to learn how to take a problem. You know, someone will come to you and say, I have this problem, and you're instantly going to start to think, this is going to be more of a qualitative, or it's going to be more of a quantitative study, and I can start to look at some of the specific research methods that are in those categories that might solve our problem and give us some real data that we can share with other people and validate, and they can repeat, and they can see that it's going to have the same results for them if they just try it and try it the right way. Very systematic system, right? Now, if you look at number 5, it says develop strategies to learn how to formulate research questions that will address potential knowledge gaps in a selected field of research. Sometimes people don't even know what the problem is. This is a very serious issue for young researchers. They have a general idea that there's something wrong, and they don't know exactly how to articulate or to formulate a question. They just know something is wrong. And what we're going to do is we're going to start to look at how to form a problem statement, how to ask good questions, how to identify the real problem that we want to solve, and not some general concept. I kind of know this is wrong, I don't know if this is wrong, but something really solid that we can apply the scientific method to, and the processes that we're going to learn in this course, especially in the first production stage, okay? Now, if you look at number six objective for this course is to determine the appropriate research method and research design for a research problem. I've already kind of touched on this issue. Once you have a problem and it's articulated, you've got it down, you've gotten the concept, you've got the exact problem, you've written it down in words, it's like a formula. You can start to see that this research process or this research formula is going to work to solve my problem. So that's what we're going to do, okay? At first we're just going to kind of understand the general concepts and what they are. Then we're going to have our own problem that we really want to solve and how to articulate that problem so that we can apply the scientific method to it. And then we're going to look at specific qualitative or quantitative designs that will help us get to the answers that we're seeking. Okay. Number 7 is determine appropriate sampling, data collection, and associated analytical approaches for qualitative and quantitative research designs. Okay. Sometimes who we are taking data on in education, we're mostly talking about people. We're going to be examining people or a person or a small group of people. Like if you're an elementary school teacher and you want to know how to be a better instructor in reading, you're going to have the appropriate sample, which is your classroom, and you're going to be testing your new methodologies on them. But how are you going to do that, and so that you can have some real results? And what will those results be? You know, what do you consider true results? It's the appropriateness of how the students learn, what their skill sets are to begin with, where you think you're going wrong with your reading and you want to improve methods of instruction. Maybe some background on the students is important as well. This could be a numbers game about students how many students compared to other students respond to a certain type of teaching methodology that you're using in your classroom, and how can you improve that number so that more and more students are getting better reading scores, or they're getting faster at their reading, or whatever the specific problem is that you want. And you want your sample, the students that you're going to be talking to match exactly what your research method is going to be and what you see as the problem. If these don't match, you know, if you're wanting to improve your reading teaching methodologies, and let's say you go outside and you're tutoring a group of students that have no reading tests or reading scores, how are you going to validate what you're doing? So it's a different situation from when you're in the classroom. In the classroom, you have access to those kinds of scores. If you're teaching outside tutoring, you probably don't have. So you're going to have to use maybe a different research method in order to find any results that can give you some real information about what works and what doesn't work, and not just something that's kind of in your head. Okay. The next one is number 8. Evaluate published quantitative, qualitative research. I think this is the best way to learn research, really, is to observe and to critically look at what other researchers are doing. It's a great place to start when you're a new researcher and you really don't know all of the different types of research that are particularly used a lot in your field. If you want to be like I said, back to our reading situation, where if you want to be a truly good reading instructor, that is your goal, okay, for the semester or for your career, then what are other teachers or other professors or researchers doing to improve their results in their reading methodologies that they're using in their classrooms or with their students? So one of the best places to start is to actually observe them and find out what they're doing, how they're doing it, when they did it. Is it, if it's more than 5 years ago, we usually tend to think that there's new information that's come out. There's so much research, ideas are changing so much, more information about how the brain works, emotional stability, economic issues, all of these things come into play with the students' learning abilities. So these things, as we learn more about them, we can start to, really get to the core of how to teach and be successful. And the best place to start is to observe and see what other people are doing. We call this modeling in psychology and also in education. So it's a great place to start to get to where you need to go. But in order to do that, you have to know how to critique. You have to be the critic. It's like a movie critic. He goes to a movie, he watches a movie, he comes back and he says it's good, it's bad based on this criteria. We're going to learn what that criteria is so that we can evaluate research in a way that is going to help us and to advance us as researchers in the process. Okay. The next one, number 9, which is our last objective for this course, is to examine critical elements in a research concept paper. At the end of this course, you are going to write a concept paper. A concept paper is sometimes called a proposal. We use these papers many times to present to a publisher or to present to the university to gain a new course or to open a conference of sharing new ideas. But we don't want to go through the whole process of research if we don't have an audience or if we don't have a purpose in what we're doing. So sometimes we feel passionately about something, we know it has to change, but we have to convince other people that they need to listen to us or change something as well. And a concept paper is the best way to do this. And we are going to write a concept paper before the end of this course. So we're going to learn the research process about how to get started at it. We're going to learn how to write. We're going to learn if we're going to focus on qualitative or quantitative methods. We're going to research a lot of different ideas in this course, and you're going to find out your own way, your own path to what you need to find, and that's our problem-based situation. So that is what we're going to focus on in this course. Now, if you look on page 4, we have a chart that's called the research process, and we are